Welcome to the Hopeful Divorce. I'm Hope, your family law friend. After working in family law firms for many years and watching thousands of divorces play out, I've learned some things about what does and doesn't work, and I'm here to share.
This question is from the DivorceMen subreddit. Should this be bothering me this much? My ex-wife and I share custody of a 6-year-old girl. I asked my daughter about her sleeping arrangement at her mom's. She told me she likes sleeping there a little bit better, and when I asked why, she said a few normal things, and then she said she sleeps in a bed with a hoodie from her mom's boyfriend. My immediate reaction was, that's really effing weird. As I have thought about it more, my reaction hasn't changed. It's weird as F. Why is my 6-year-old child sleeping while snuggling with a grown man's used clothing? Should I do something about this? What could I even do if I should? You should not do anything about this. There is nothing to do. The fact that your daughter has shared with you that she is more comfortable sleeping at her mom's house, and the reason why is because of this hoodie, your only question should be, how can I get a hoodie that's just like this for my daughter to have at my house so she feels comfortable sleeping here? That is your only concern. She's 6 years old. A 6-year-old does not put meaning on where a piece of clothing comes from. Your daughter is comfortable sleeping in that hoodie because she likes the feel of the fabric or she likes something about the shape of it. It makes her feel secure to have the hood on her head for, some reason to do with the way the hoodie is physically made. That's it. Children do not put meaning on objects based on who it belonged to. That is a kind of thing that an adult would think of and not a 6-year-old child. It's completely common and completely natural and normal for a child to get attached to a physical item like a blanket or a stuffy or a piece of clothing, and they like the feel of it, and when they're sleeping it gives them comfort, and that is what this situation is. Honestly, what I would recommend you do is contact mom and say, hey, is it possible for her to bring the hoodie with her when she comes to my house? Because she said it helps her feel comfortable when she's sleeping at night. That would be the best thing. Now, in general, it's better not to have a lot of things going back and forth between the houses. It can be a bit of a hassle. Generally, most people have a set of clothing at each house for the most part, and a few things go back and forth. But when it's something that provides comfort for your child, then that is the kind of thing that should actually go back and forth. Your daughter is only 6. And if for whatever reason bringing it back and forth doesn't work, then you should talk to mom and say, can I look at the hoodie? I need to know what size it is. I need to know what kind of fabric it's made out of. Want to have an idea. And maybe your daughter will tell you, like, what's the part of it that feels good? If she's able to articulate that. At 6 years old, she might not be able to articulate it, and I wouldn't make a big deal about interrogating her about it, but you could have an age-appropriate conversation with her and say, why do you like it? What part of it feels good? And they sometimes can explain that to you and then say, do you want to get a special hoodie that you can sleep in at daddy's house? And then you could go shopping with her, or maybe you already have a hoodie in your closet that will give the same sensation that she's looking for. That is all for you to do in this. Trying to tell mom what she can have the daughter sleep in at her house is not a smart step to take at all, regardless. Now, there might be some scenarios where there's a little bit of information, but there's no safety issue here. There's nothing unusual about it. I think that this is showing that you are upset that your wife has moved on and has a new boyfriend. And that's completely natural and normal. It's also completely natural and normal to have a level of skepticism about your ex's new partner. There's nothing wrong with, wanting to make sure that the person around your child is a safe person and having some adult conversations with the other parent about that is sometimes appropriate, okay, without getting into dictating, who can and can't be around. Because during your parenting time, you get to, have whatever you want around your house. And during her parenting time, she gets to do the same. And unless there's, someone with a criminal record or other severe issues that could pose a safety threat, it's really not your place to be involved in that. So it is tough. And I don't mean to diminish your fears and concerns and your feeling. It's natural to have feelings of, anger or resentment or jealousy or just concern because you don't know this person. But that's for you to process. I'm going to recommend that you get some counseling or join a support group for divorcing parents, that you get involved in a gym or take some personal growth classes. I mean, there's lots of different ways for you to process your grief. It is important to process the grief that you have over the end of your marriage. It's just like the death of a person. It's something that takes time to process. And little things like this are going to come up and they're going to bother you. And you need to figure out how to process them and deal with them and not make it into a battle with your co-parent, because the most important gift you can give your daughter is to have a good relationship with her mother, a working relationship with her. It doesn't mean you need to be best friends. It doesn't mean that, you need to be like you were when you were together, but a good co-parenting relationship where you can communicate with each other is truly a gift to your daughter. Coming in concerned about a piece of clothing is not the way to establish a good relationship with the other parent. This is not the hill to die on. There are other issues that could come up that will be a lot more important, and you don't want to seem like you're getting upset about small, irrelevant things, because later, if there is something that's a bigger deal that is of concern, you might be dismissed as being, too overly concerned about what's going on at the other house. So save this conversation for another time when there's something else that you're concerned about. And in the meanwhile, try and help recreate that same experience for your daughter at your house, either through a new hoodie or by having the hoodie travel back and forth between the two houses. Taking a quick pause in today's episode to remind you this podcast is built around your questions. If you're navigating divorce, separation, property division, child support, custody, co-parenting, blended families, or anything in between, you don't have to figure it out alone. Chances are, if you're wondering about something, someone else is too. You can submit your questions anytime through my website at hopefuldivorce.com. Whether it's a big, complicated situation or a simple, what does this legal term mean, or why does this happen this way? All questions are welcome. I read every submission, and your question could be featured in an upcoming episode to help not just you, but others going through similar experiences. So if something's been on your mind, send in your question. Let's keep the conversation moving forward. This question is from the divorce subreddit. How do I handle a cross-border divorce? Hi, myself and my ex are looking for an uncontested divorce. We both agree it's the best and easiest way to go. The complicated issue is I live in Canada and I'm a Canadian citizen, and he lives in the US and is a dual citizen. We got married in the state he lives in. He's lived in the same state for over a decade. We have no property or kids. We just want to be done with this. I went to get the forms for an uncontested divorce, and when I got to the "Do you both reside in the United States of America" portion, I said no. It then said, to use this program, both you and the person you want to divorce must live in the United States. I really don't want to involve lawyers, as it will just lengthen the process. I just want to get it done with. I don't know how to go further. How else can I pursue a cross-border uncontested divorce? Well, the good news is that you can get a divorce because you are living in Canada, and the government of Canada will issue you a divorce. The fact that your ex is in the U.S. will not prevent it. As long as one person has been living in Canada for the appropriate time, they will grant you a divorce. So you can dissolve the marriage by the Canadian government. And it's relatively easy to do. You can do it yourself. There is a little bit of cost in terms of court fees, and it might vary a little bit from province to province in terms of exactly what forms you fill out and exactly how long it takes and what the court fees are. That might vary a little bit, but for the most part, it's something you can do on your own, and it's not terribly expensive, and you don't need a lawyer to assist you with it. I can tell you that in Ontario, if you go to the website ontario.ca, look into the family law section, you can access all of the forms that you need to file for divorce in Ontario right there for free. You go in, and what you want to look for is a form. It's called Form 8A, which is an application for simple divorce. It's pretty easy form to fill out. You'll put in all of your information on it and you'll sign it. And then you need to scan that, and you can file it right online through the ontario.ca portal. Pretty easy to do. You want to also file your marriage certificate with your application. You don't have to be married in Canada in order for Canada to dissolve the marriage. So your U.S. marriage certificate will be fine. File both of those things, and then you will get an issued application. What that means is the court has received it and they start the divorce case. And then you need to have your ex served with a copy of that application. And you have to have special service completed. What that means is that someone who is an adult, who is not you, has to physically hand the application to your ex. What you can do is, once you've got it back from the court with the court file number on it, you could email it to a friend or someone you know who lives near your ex and ask that person if they will just go give it to him. And, if your ex is on, decent speaking terms with you, you can just say, hey, this is what's going to happen. Our friend so-and-so is going to be in touch with you and they're going to bring you the divorce application. And then your friend who served the application will have to fill out a form that's called an affidavit of service. You will fill in the basic information on it, and then your friend will have to write in the date and the time and the address of where they were when they gave the paperwork to your ex. And then they have to sign that in front of a notary. It's a sworn document. So that means they can go to a notary and just wait and sign it in front of the notary, who will confirm that they are who they say they are, and they'll stamp it, and then it'll be accepted by the court. And courts in Canada will accept a U.S. notary. That's pretty standard. And then you will file the affidavit of service that your friend did, and then you will also file what's called an affidavit of divorce. That's a form that you will need to fill out. That form, your signature will need to be commissioned as well. So you can fill it all out, and then you can take it to a notary who will watch you sign it and put their stamp on it. Or you can go to the courthouse in Ontario and the court clerks will commission your signature for you for free. So you don't have to pay a notary. And then you file the affidavit for divorce, the affidavit for service, and then you also do a draft divorce order. This form is also available online for free. You just fill in the information. It will ask the date you were married, the location of your marriage, things like that. You fill it all out and you save it in Word, because the instructions will tell you it should be a Word document and not scanned. And you file those 3 things in the online portal. And then when it comes back from the judge, you'll be divorced. Now, sometimes what happens is the judge will review it, and you do not have to go to court at all. Like, you don't have to appear in front of a judge. It gets sent to the judge in chambers, which means the judge just reads your application. And what usually happens is, if you have filled everything out correctly, the judge will issue an endorsement and then a divorce order. You'll get an order from the court that says the marriage was dissolved effective this date, whatever the date of the order is. And then 31 days after the date of the order, you will be divorced. And it'll say that on the divorce order. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Sometimes, if people don't complete the forms correctly, if they make a mistake, don't fill everything in, or there's something that's concerning to the judge about the marriage, sometimes the judge will send an endorsement that says they want you to provide more information, things like that. So not everyone gets granted, but most of them just simply get granted. And it takes a few months to get it back from the courthouse. That also depends on where you live in Ontario. Some courthouses actually relatively quick to get a divorce back. Other ones are very backed up and it takes several months, but it can happen relatively quickly. In Ontario, it costs $669 in order to get a divorce. That's the court fee that you have to pay for a simple divorce. You could split that with your ex. If your income is at a certain level and you have a low income, you can apply for a fee waiver. Fees will just be waived for you and you won't have to pay the $669. So it's relatively inexpensive and easy to do, and you can do it as long as you've been living in Canada for the proper amount of time. In Ontario, you have to have been living in Ontario for the last year. So you might have to wait just a little bit of time. You didn't indicate how long it's been since you moved back to Canada, but other than waiting a little time, it should be pretty simple and straightforward for you to do, and you can definitely do it yourself.
Thanks for listening to The Hopeful Divorce. If this episode was helpful to you, share it with someone who might need it, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future conversations. And as you deal with challenges of separation, divorce, and rebuilding your life, always remember the wise words that Christopher Robin told his friend Winnie the Pooh. You're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep moving forward.